Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome to the discussion for Carnegie, which is a game that has the driest theme I think I have played.
Yeah, a long time at least.
Yeah, like, it's, this is a game that I backed, and I don't know why.
Right.
Like, because nothing about this, like, genre or theme would ever draw me to actually just be like, oh yeah, let's just get in on that. But it's from the same designer as Black Angel, which I like Black Angel quite a bit. I'm probably only one of the few that are kind of like spearheading that game because I think it's solid. Yeah. But that's the only game of his that I've actually played, although I am familiar with his other ones. Overall, what do you think of Carnegie?
I liked it.
Yeah.
It is, for a Euro game, you're pretty invested to everybody else's turn.
Right.
Honestly. Mm-hmm. And thinking through, okay, looking at Seth's board, what's he going to do? He has tons of cash, and I don't, so his best move is to go and do a charity or donations.
Yeah.
And there were a couple times where, like, I looked over your board, it's like, oh, I can do construction, and I don't think you can follow.
Right.
And you did a donation, and I could not follow.
Right. Right. I will say what's kind of interesting about this game is there's a couple things, because the whole shtick or the whole theme of the game is Andrew Carnegie was a philanthropist. Like, I don't know if he was a billionaire, but like one of the richest persons. I mean, but he did a bunch of charity work.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff named after him because he had all this money from being in the steel industry.
Yeah.
And he donated it all.
Right.
And it is kind of weird that they have these donations, but they cap it.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because to me, thematically, it should be a viable strategy to go after all those and be like, oh, I want to, I just want to go heavy in donations, and it's weird that you're capped at 12. And the only reason I can think of why they did that is mechanics are alone.
Yes.
Because it would imbalance some of them.
Right, because like the train, max you can do is 12.
Is 12 points, exactly. The cities, max you can do is 12.
Right.
So I think that's why they did that, because otherwise, like, having a bunch of cubes, like, you can just get a bunch of cubes, and then you could make that 30 points.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas someone doing one of those is only going to get 12.
Right.
So I see why they did it. Just for the strategy I did for the run-through, that's kind of what I went heavy on. But I will say, even though this feels broken, like making it to where you're paying 25 for 8 points or 25 for 12 points, I'm paying 15 to get the same amount of points. It's not. Like, the departments, all of them are good.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about this game is, even though I got, like, blown out, and once you started also getting 12 points, which I think might be actually a flaw of a two-player game.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because in a two-player game, both players are pretty much going to get the donations that they want. Having a third player jump in to take some of those means that my strategy, I think in a three-player game, if I did the exact same thing, I think it would have actually been better.
Yes.
Because you doing equally well wouldn't have gotten as much points. I don't know if it would have won, but it might have. You might have lost 24, maybe 36 points if someone also was going for the East. And someone was also going for those. So,
and some of it was like, so you went more broad spectrum, and I went very targeted. Like, if I chose a donation that I was going to go for, I tried to max it out.
Right.
And I didn't move to another one till I had the previous one maxed out. And then basically at the end, like when I did the East, it was more, I didn't think I was going to get the 12 points from the East. It just happened that I did construction and I had the resources to do it.
Yeah.
But my kind of goal plan was like, well, it's extra points at this point. I have money. There's nothing that money is valuable for. It's the second to the last round. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I think in a two-player game, you can also be kind of more of a dick. Because I saw that you could have gotten 8 to 12 points, and I could have just taken that.
Right.
And be like, well, I'm not getting anything.
Right. I actually thought you saw the train, and that was the one you were going to go for, because you were close enough to a couple trains to get some points from it.
Yeah, I was trying to see how well you can do without going studying.
Yeah.
And you can do really well. I don't think
can.
there's any one surefire strategy.
No.
But I think that some avenues are a lot more powerful in a two-player game. Studying does go a long way because there's not as much points of contention. There's not as many people also going for donations, going up on the tracks,
Right.
taking locations in cities that you might want to go to.
Right.
So interestingly enough, I think a two-player game is a lot more free.
Yeah, because, I mean, realistically, like, building-wise, because I was actually kind of afraid, it's like, oh, you know, if we all start, like, in the east, then you're all competing for routes. Mm-hmm. But here, because I started basically in the east, I started Midwest then east, really, because I was trying to connect Chicago, or was it New Orleans and New York together, because that was going to be my chain. I wasn't even going to try to get to San Francisco.
Yeah.
I just wanted that chain.
Where's the fourth one?
No, so this is worth 2.
Oh, that's it. You're
Yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah,
So if you can connect it to, you know, any of the 2 other major cities,
Yeah.
it's quite a bit of points. And again, it's a lot of points.
Yeah, it's 36 points, and it's like, I could have competed for that. I was trying to focus on the donations and get
Right.
those out to make kind of like a chain, and it just didn't. And actually, what did hurt me was because the way that the turn order worked is I wanted to have more people standing up by the end of it, because I could have, if I had gotten 12 points for that, it would have been another 12 points.
So when you sent 2 of your workers out here on the last turn, I was like, I think you got money-wise more points out of it, but I was like, you know, you're getting double points by having those guys.
Well, because
still standing up.
I can't see the slash through that times 5.
Got it.
So I was like, oh, just have 5. You know,
Yeah.
it's 5. 2 points for every $5.
I still think that you got more points out of it than you would have had for the 2 extra workers standing up.
I did, and I mean, and the thing is like what I could have done is because I had ways. I even mapped it out. I was like, oh, I should get $60, and I could have gotten. Well, I would have just needed. I needed 45 total to get the max amount of points from that.
Right.
So, but in my head, I saw that because from my angle, it just shows a 5. That was like the thinnest paintbrush stroke of a line.
Right.
That I was thinking, oh, okay, I just need 30, and then I can use it up for both of those.
Yeah.
So that was quite a lot of points I left on the board. I mean, because if I had maxed out on that, it would have been another 12 points.
Right.
On top of.
Well, so you maxed out this for 12 points, and then I think you had.
I had 15 left.
Yeah, so
I
6 points. So you would have gotten 6 more points.
So another 18 points if I had maxed out this. Because if I had 12 here, that would have been another 6, and then another 6 there. So 18 points still would have put me at 110.
Right.
Which is not nothing.
No. So I will say, because I think you even said it in the game, like, it felt fast. It's 20 rounds.
Quick. Yeah.
Like, I was thinking, like, when I was watching the playthrough, it was like, man, 20 rounds, that's going to take forever.
I know.
And I was like, my gosh, like, I was looking at the board, I was like, we're halfway done.
Yeah.
I haven't done anything yet.
Yeah. Well, it was so weird just because of the way. This is probably one of the greatest ways of making variety in a game. Because, I mean, just by taking one of these and flipping it,
it changes.
Already changes the game.
Yes.
And the way that the order of donations was, like, I mean, I was sitting there and I was like, I don't like where these are at.
Yes, I agree.
Because I went through waves, like, it's like we almost swapped. At the beginning half, you had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I had none. Then the other half, I had a lot of money and you had none.
Right.
And it's like, okay, now I'm going to pick it up. And it's also another weird semblance of this game where you're not really getting any points throughout the game.
No, not unless you go very specific. Like, so if you go bridges early, you can start getting some points. But one of the things I did figure out, like, I did not pick up departments that drop people off very readily.
Oh, yeah.
And I started realizing, like, that's actually kind of a bad idea. Like, I really actually do want to send people out.
Yeah, because you're missing out on
just these resources.
On general income. I mean, hell, think about it. Like, I'll talk about this in a sec, but like a pretty good strategy is because you don't need, if you pull all these out, you don't need to build all these to get these points. So, and these are cumulative.
Yes.
So it's like how many points is that? This is 12. Is it all 12?
I think it's all 12.
9, 12, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No. Okay, so these top two are 12 points. That's 9. This is 6.
Okay.
So 24, 30, 39 points.
Right.
If you just... I mean, you can go heavy. You can get the 7-pointer plus that, and then if you can really just move that over and stack the load.
Right. Which is what I did one time. Like
You did have like 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I saw that, it's like, oh man, that'll get me all of these. I mean, I think I got the $10 from there, which then helped me because the next round I was able to actually buy a donation.
Yeah,
because of that
that's
$10.
True. Yep.
And so it was all those sweet spot areas that you can just get away with a lot of stuff.
I mean, and it's very interesting because I think the production value of this game is outstanding.
Yep.
Like, it's not like Gugong or what's another high quality, like, any Vital Lacerda game, really.
Right.
It's on par with a Vital game.
Yeah.
Because whenever I was first watching the video, I was like, oh my god, are these going to be stupid? And they're just slide under some cardboard or some paper tray. No, not at all. Like, they actually slot into a little sleeve section.
Yep.
The fact that these are like gears that like show you what level, so you don't have to like keep pulling them out. There's also a B side that it looks like. Okay, so
less points, but more.
Well, no, because if this one you get points based off this one specifically donations. They all are. So.
Okay. Interesting.
But it is less points, but you get more resources for income. But yeah, like if you're not pulling those out, or if you're not putting workers on missions in various spots, and people are, like, it makes it to where you're like, man, I don't want to do that action because then they're going to pull people back.
Or there was a time where, like, I knew I needed to do research so I could get this Midwest train because I had 3 guys here. Mm-hmm. But it was like, but the only way for me to get that research is to go and do a movement action, but that's going to pull all my Midwestern people.
Exactly.
Like, no, this is not
right. Or you take up a spot, like, if it's very limited, and it's like, okay, I know he has people there, but he's all the way at the beginning.
Right.
You know what, I'm going to do that action just to force him to be like, I guess I'll leave him there, but you leave them there, and a Midwest spot may not be coming up anytime soon.
Now, I do like the one fact that you can pull only one, which still allows you to pull all this production. Mm-hmm. And so, like, there's one time, I think, like, in the Midwest, it was that situation. But it's like, I need this income, so I'm going to pull that one guy knowing it's not really what I want to do, but this will save me, and I'll get the other 2 guys later.
Yeah. Yeah. They, because in most games like this, with Euros, it's kind of like, okay, I've seen it. Like, this is kind of this is definitely an efficiency game, but it's not like Kanban where it's like, okay, we were so efficient that we played the game. Right. This one has so much variety with the action selection, and there's more of those. There's 8, I think. Number. There's 8 total, and they're all double-sided. You just shuffle them up and then just put 4 in. Right. And then the departments are also randomly shuffled. So, like, we could have played a game where this +7 of study points is
never going to be there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I really like that.
Yep.
Because some games where it's like, okay, you have to have these in the game, but then you randomize these. It's like, okay.
Because then there becomes a meta of what your first couple moves should be every single time, because you know this is a known fact, you'll just start building a strategy around those known facts.
Right.
But here, it's going to be so random for your start that every game is going to be, how flexible are you going to be able to be to do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. Do you have any negatives on the game?
So there is, as a Euro game, there is take that in it. Like, there's definitely times where we kind of lightly at least took take that. Because you can see what people are probably going to go for donations. And if you're first, you can go take it from them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily hurt you because you can probably still accomplish it.
Yeah, like there was nothing. If at the time I could have taken the East, then I probably could have jumped in and started placing them.
You've probably gone 6 points.
Yeah.
And
stopping you from getting 12. Yeah.
Right. And so that's an 18-point swing. That's not terrible.
Yeah.
And so from that standpoint, that to me is a negative in a Euro game. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, realistically, I felt like I was pretty much almost exclusively focused on my board. Like, the only reason I would look at your board to see how it was going to hurt you is there's two actions I could take. Which one is probably the best?
And I don't consider that take that.
No.
What I personally consider take that is I'm only robbing you of something.
Right.
Like, me taking East, like the East times 2, gains me nothing.
Right.
But some people warp that in like my gain is your loss.
Right.
And I hate those people. Because I sat here and I was like, yeah, I could. And I was like, that'd be nasty. But I don't play that way.
Right.
Like, so what this game does extremely well, yeah, people could do that, just don't play with them. But I think looking at someone's board and being like, because this game is, you want to be efficient.
Right.
It wouldn't make any sense for you to take an action that you also get nothing for just to deprive someone else of doing something. So it's like you're looking, it's like, I'm going to do a human resources again because I can benefit from that because I have the one that gets me points, or I need to move more people. And he just moved his, so he's not going to move him again. So I'm just going to do it again. Like, I like that.
Yes.
I think that is an excellent way to have competition in a Euro game, because so many Euro games are just competitive solitaire games.
Right.
This is my board. This is everything I'm doing. I don't care what anyone else is doing. I just want it to be my turn. And there's a time and place for those kinds of games.
Right.
But it is kind of refreshing to actually have a mid to heavyweight Euro game where you're actually looking at what your other players can do. Do I want to do that action even though that's going to let them do income? Yes, because I'm going to do, because my actions are going to be extremely beneficial, so it doesn't matter if I give them the income.
Right. So it didn't really affect me, but I could see other players. This game could cause a fair amount of analysis paralysis. Because you are trying to be efficient, and there's going to be times where you're just not going to be as efficient as you want it to be.
Yeah.
And so making that choice of what's the least inefficient move possible. Mm-hmm. And I can see some people just struggling with that.
Yeah, because it whenever you hear 20 rounds and you hear Euro, you're like, that's a 6-hour game.
Right.
Like, that sounds awful. But surprisingly, they found a way for it to be tense, but also light. Like, we're not sitting here like, okay, if he takes that one thing from me, my entire game is ruined. You know, you're still free. Yeah, like I think I mentioned it before we had played. Hey, money's tight, but like,
you can get around it.
You can get around it. Like, there are ways for you to get a bunch of money.
Yep.
Like, you might not take the action you want right then and there, or you might have to do a few setup actions like I did.
Yep.
I was like, I don't have any money. I need to do this action. Now I have $30.
Right.
And then that frees me up for quite a while.
Right.
But I think that's a good element of a Euro game. If you're always swimming in resources and you're always getting to do all the actions you want, I find that kind of boring. It's like, just be like, I got 110 points.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't play. Yeah, but we get whatever we want, so might as well just say we played and just give out a number.
Yeah, no, it's super solid.
The other thing
super good
is I was listening to Paul Grogan, and he made a good point that I was like, well, you know what, let's see what he's talking about. On the back of the rulebook, it has an icon reference that actually shows the icons and explains what they are. We never had to look at that.
Yeah.
Like, never once have we had to look at that and be like, what does that icon mean? Yeah, we might have had to be like, okay, let's just clarify what a department does.
Right.
But surprisingly, in a game that is like language independent and with the icons, they just make so much sense.
They made sense.
Again, here's the thing. The production value, I could not be more happy with. This game came because whenever I was setting it up for us to play, I was like, okay, I'm getting ready to punch out all these fucking things, and nope, these came organized in the tray. Each player came organized in the tray, even with the setup stuff, like your setup cubes and money.
Coins and cubes were already in there.
They're already organized. All the cards are where they're meant to be. It's it's game trays.
Right.
And so many companies are now using game trays, but they don't organize it for you.
Right.
I'm blown away. Like, it's such a small thing, but it's like, as we play more and more games, I take into consideration setup a lot more. Like, if a game doesn't have an insert, I'm almost not inclined to play it. Because I'm like, God, I don't want to just dump out all these shit from bags. I don't want to do all this. But the fact is that so many games use game trays, and then they either give you the shittiest little toilet paper fucking thing where it's like, okay, I don't even know how to organize this.
Right.
And the company doesn't do a video. And this game was like, oh, open it up, and yeah, it's all organized for you.
Right.
It's outstanding. I don't even know who this company is. Well, what's interesting is it used to be Pegasus Spiel, but that
really?
Yeah, but that organizer isn't. Quind Games.
Yeah.
They did, as publisher, they did Keyflower, Trajan, Aquasphere, and I mean, Board Game Geek always has kind of weird things where it's like, if you ever look up CMON publishers, you're like, how are they involved in that game? It's kind of like just odd.
Yeah.
This game also does have an expansion. It has a modular expansion. One of them adds like these I guess auctions. So uses a notepad on bidding sheets. So in addition to customizing their starting resources, each player may also bid to start the game as first player. The players then reveal their completed bidding sheets simultaneously. The high bidder will become the first player, and play will proceed clockwise. And that determines your starting money.
Oh, okay.
So I guess it depends on, you start out with $50, and you could bid for and how many cubes. So you could pay 18 coins to start out with 6 cubes. And if you want to start out with how many workers in your lobby, that costs money. Victory. It depends on how many victory points you want to start with. Like, you can gain 12 points to start out at -6. So it's just a additional
choices.
Variety, setup variety. That's odd.
But I mean, kind of cool because
I've never seen that.
You have super flexibility for how you want to play a game.
That's true. Oh, and how many setup moves you get? You can get 10 setup moves for $20.
Right. So as long, you could start with $50 and almost nothing on your board. Just like,
well, guys, my entire first half is setting up.
I got
$50. Just wait, that first donation spot, I'm gonna get the ×2 $5 location. Yeah, I'm gonna have no cubes. I'm gonna have no workers. No, it looks like to start with cubes you do have to pay, but you will have at least 3 workers and 0 victory points.
Got it.
Like those are at least free.
Got
it. That'd be so funny. But I think that's neat. I think that's neat.
That's
for the record, we haven't played with any of the expansions, but it is here. They have new departments. Okay. So I don't know if these are shuffled in with the others.
I would hope so.
But there's one renovation. When using this department, the player must choose a single region of the map. For each project, you get either $2 or a victory point. I would imagine, just by quick glancing, there's at least some in here that give you more points. I'm lying. There's 2. There's 2 here that give you points throughout the game.
But again, even if it just adds more departments, I would probably just throw that in and just shuffle it in.
New donations as well.
Cool.
That's so pretty much in an optional rules. The first player has the option to wait. That player simply has to announce that they are waiting rather than playing first. The other players must then play first, and the first player will go last.
Huh. Okay.
Probably wouldn't do that just because there's no downside. The reason why going first, because in this game going first is good and bad, because it's like it allows people to see what you're doing and course correct, but also you get first dibs.
Right.
No, it's actually what's great, because there's very few games where you or I wouldn't really call this a blowout, but it's a pretty significant, because getting 12 points is a lot. So 127 to 92. What is that? 29 points.
No, more than 29. Because you go up 8, right?
Oh, 35.
Yeah, 35
points. Yeah, I mean, and that's just if I had capitalized more on various locations.
Right.
But there's very few games where you or I blow each other out.
Yeah.
And where either one of us, like, I can't think of a game where I've beaten you that you've been like, well, I guess Viscounts. With both expansions is like, how many points did you get? I don't know, like 300. Yeah, fuck this game.
Yeah.
But anyway, because you and I are pretty close. Like,
right.
We don't keep tally on like what the ratio is, but I would say we're pretty much even in terms of competition.
Right.
But where one of us loses, where it's like, yeah, I want to play this again, and I like this game enough to be like, yeah, let's give it another shot.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. I can't really think of any other negatives. In fact, I mean, the only negative I really had was just kind of the weird cap on donations, which I get why they did, so
right.
It's not that big of a deal. And to compensate, you could theoretically just, because there are a total of 8 donation spots, because you'll get the
right.
4 there and then the 4 at the end. And theoretically, where was it? I think I did grab it. Oh, yeah. Remove a worker. So during a R&D, you could send a worker on a mission and donate again.
Yeah.
So to compensate, yeah. I mean, you're right. I probably should have grabbed that one. There was a reason I was Funny enough, I think I did look at that. I think whenever I started with my thing
right.
of making them cheaper, I think I did look at that and I was like, oh, I need to get that.
Yeah.
And then I didn't. Oh, because I had no money.
Right.
And I was like, there's no point in me grabbing it because I don't have any money! But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I would play... It's not bad at 2. I think 2 is still pretty solid.
Yeah.
But...
I think 3 would be better.
I'm going to go with 3. 3 seems to be a sweet spot. Because also in a 3-player game, I think the person going last gets this token.
Yep.
Which means, hey, I'm not going to do that action. I'm going to do my own action. Or it's 3 points at the end.
Right.
4-player game, everyone gets this. But I like the fact in a 3-player game, there's still going to be some seeding
yes.
of a random setup.
Right.
But I think a third person jumping into...
It would just smooth some things
yeah,
out.
or it would hinder... It would hinder all players.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to take donations because they're going to go for certain strategies. They're going to take departments. They're going to take spots.
Right.
It's just not taken. Like,
right.
There's not enough of the dummy player getting set up that's going to
right.
really... Because it's still a dummy player. They just get set up there, just shrinks the board down. But it's not the same as having one other person also vying for the East, taking that spot. Also vying for trains, taking that spot.
Right. What I do find interesting, so it's the same number of travel spots to go from New Orleans to Chicago through New York as it was to go from San Francisco to Chicago. It's both 6 building spaces.
Sorry, to get from New Orleans to Chicago to New York?
Yeah.
Is 6.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh, I guess it is faster. Man,
And
I went
then
the longer
1,
way.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, 5. Okay.
If you went that way.
Yeah.
I did hear some people say that like there are some cities that are very crucial to try and get the 36.
Right.
And Denver is a really solid one because that is the shortest route
right.
from Chicago in there. But again, we were also talking about spots of donations. They also take spots of paths
right.
if we had a third player.
Right.
So I would say, like, not bad at 2, but...
I think it would improve at 3.
It would improve at 3.
Yep.
And with... I think there's not a lot of Euros that are great at 2, honestly.
Fewer of
yeah.
them. Yeah.
Usually 3 is a soft spot. 4 is like... I don't need a 4th person here to mess with stuff. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Good.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Carnegie?
I'm struggling with that one. 9.5.
9.5. God damn.
Yeah.
God damn. I'm at a 9. I'm at 9.5 if I like the theme more. But I do really like this. I think because most games like this are... Like, the 9s and 10s are usually reserved for Beetle games, and it's like,
right.
oh, here we go. Like,
right.
Here's another one that's not as heavy, but still very efficient with the variety of setup, like the cool engines and the actual interchanging of players. Like, and And then just the cool, like, it's just a smaller expansion, but, like, modular expansions are great.
Right.
And it's like, oh, hey, you know what? We've been playing this game quite a bit. Like, let's do variable setup.
Right.
Here's your auction.
Yeah, I was debating on 10. Like, I think I want to play it at least one more time before I would add it to my collection, but this is definitely one that I'm going to consider just straight up adding to my collection.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that out of everyone in the group that I play with, that this one would have resonated with you the most.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just so clean. And like, I watched a 3-player run through, and it took them an hour and a half.
Right.
Like, so it was basically 30 minutes per player, which is what it was for us.
Right.
2-player game was about an hour, which is
Pretty solid.
so good.
That's a sweet spot for player count time.
Yeah.
Especially for a medium to heavy Euro game. Mm-hmm. And so it says 120 minutes. So 2 hours.
Okay.
Is what it's doing. And, for 4 players,
4-player game.
I would say it probably takes about 2 hours.
Yeah.
To my gut reaction.
Yeah. And there's so many times where if you're doing an action, like there were times where, like the human resources one, it was
Right.
like, I'm moving my stuff. It doesn't matter where you move
Right.
it. I can't stop you from moving your own people.
Right.
I will say the only thematic thing about the game, besides the fact of whatever, it's Carnegie, is that I see kind of where they're coming with the victory points. Is that, to me, in my head, you don't get a lot of victory points throughout the game because he wasn't as well known until the end where he was donating all of his money.
Right.
To where it's like, that's why at the end you get a bunch of victory points, because it's, I guess maybe thematically they were thinking, oh, at the end of his life, he donated all of his money, that's how he became renowned, but he was still some guy throughout his life,
Right.
donate, just maybe doing some stuff, but not a lot, so that's why you can do this and get 2 points. You can do this and get 2 points.
Right.
I am very curious as to how, if anyone knows, or if you've played this game, I want to know what your max score was in the middle of a game. Like, if someone was trying to go for victory points.
My gut reaction, I mean, it can't be 20 points.
I was thinking 30, but you're like, that's your strat.
I mean, you have to go heavy on bridges to begin with.
Yeah.
And you have to be pulling people back so often.
That would be 4 points. And how many times do you think you pulled? Like quite a bit.
Third, maybe?
Yeah, like
third of the actions?
Quite a bit. So, I mean, if you, let's say you did do that, third of the actions, so there's 20 actions. But if you really think about it, but to do this takes 4, 20.
8, 14. Just 14 to get to the 2.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, I was thinking.
So 14 research to get that out, which means if you don't have the 7, you have to fill this up twice.
But if you do have the 7, then it's just one action.
Right.
Is to do that. Now, granted, you also have to build them out.
Yeah.
Which is cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
you get 6 cubes and just pop them out real quick.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: if you do that, you have 6 cubes. So you get the 7. You start with it. You
Yep.
build it. Then you fill this. So 7. We said 14, right?
Yep.
So you do still have to fill this out, which you could just set up at the very beginning of setup. You can just move people over.
So that's taking 4 of your movement. So you only have 2 more movement. You could get 1 more guy up here for
Up
a
there.
cube.
Oh yeah, if you wanted to grab the cube, I think it would still probably take you 2 turns to set up.
Yeah. I think so.
But you get those out, then you have the cubes. Mm-hmm. Then the very next action, or not the very next, but hopefully, let's just say optimal. Very next action is you already have these pulled out, and then you construct the 7.
Right.
So you get that built, and then you already have someone on there, so you pay to get them up.
Right.
So then you, so then you have that. Then you have your 16.
Right.
Pull those out. Then you construct.
And some of your construction and the 7 is probably placing basically everywhere. Like you just want a
That's what
person
I'm saying
in every
is that you
single
pull
spot.
3 people out. Then you go. You just look at the next. Oh, the next 3 are going to be,
Right.
2 east and a south. And then you have those out. So now from every income point, you are getting 4 points.
Yeah, maybe.
So if you did that, I think 20 to 30, just off this alone, you would get 20 to 30 points, which, to be fair, how much did I say we were different?
35.
That closes the gap by 5 points. I think it's possible. I think this is actually a really cool element of a game where the points you actually gain throughout
could be the
super beneficial versus others.
Especially then if you get this one. So if you
oh
get
my
3
god,
bridges,
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
There's another 12 points right there.
Yeah, you get that one. You because also if you're going that strat with study points, then you can also quickly ramp up on at least one track. So then you're pulling and getting 2 points each time you pull from there. I think that's a potentially winning strategy because there are other ways to get victory points throughout the game. This one for every 2 people you have standing. This one right here was for three times you can spend a cube to get 3 money and a point.
Right.
So that would be 3 points and $9.
Right.
It's very interesting. So I think thematically that's probably the most thematic spot is if you're Carnegie, then you're kind of supposed to be like, okay, how much impact am I having in the middle of my life towards the end?
Right.
And still not bumping up to a 9.5, but that's just kind of like that's one thing of this game that I'm like, I'm trying to give it some theme. It's really not the most, but I think to me that's the closest I can get to putting some elements of theme on here. But yeah, so 9 and a 9.5 from us. That's our thoughts on Carnegie. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.